Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. We hope you enjoyed part one, Pastor Who Left Christianity, with our special guest, Bishop Jamel Broadnax. Well, it's not over with yet. It's time for round two. And he's back, the one and only, the honorable, amazing Bishop Jamel Broadnax. Thank you so much for being on the show once again.
Oh man, I'm delighted. I'll come back 12 more times if you want me to.
Yeah, so I'm just so honored to just have you on here. And the subject is, as everyone knows, pastor who left Christianity, and that's what you actually did. So I want to kind
Correct.
of continue that conversation. You've already told us who you are and all that type of stuff in part one. Part two, we'd like to dive a little bit deeper. Question I'd like to ask is a lot of times as it relates to God, Jesus, the Bible, people are not clear on where they're at.
Mhm.
You've made it very clear.
Yes.
But publicly, would you tell us where you stand with the God, the Jesus, the Bible, and also do you still adhere to some of those beliefs? Do you hold it like on a pedestal or worship it, or because like I said, when you were raising this, it's almost a part of you. So, what are your thoughts on those as it relates to Jesus, God, and the Bible?
Well, I'll start with the last thing you talked about, worship. I don't worship anything or anybody, any object. I think if there was a God, if there is a God, which that is to be determined, okay? And this, I guess I'm answering it all in one because there is no conclusive answer as to whether there is a God or there's not a God, or whether there is a Jesus or there is not a Jesus. Because the truth is, both for the atheist, the Christian, the agnostic, and whomever, well, I think this is kind of how the agnostic feels anyway, but we cannot prove that there is a God, and we cannot prove that there is not a God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the place where I just don't care. It doesn't affect me. It
Yeah.
doesn't bother me. Either way, I'm going to concentrate not on whether when I die, I'm going to heaven or hell. I'm going to concentrate on when I'm living, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying my life,
Yeah.
okay? Which is what I believe we're here for. But yeah, so I don't worship anything. If there is a God, if there is a Jesus, I don't think it desires worship. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that worship would be necessary. Why would an omnipotent, all powerful, almighty God who is a creator desire praise? Someone that desires praise expresses insecurity.
Yeah.
So if God is who biblically people say God is, then he is very insecure if he needs your praises.
Yeah. I was just thinking about I had Bishop Carden Pearson on my show, a few years ago, and he
Yeah.
mentioned something similar to what you just said, and he was like, using that analogy, he said, it'd be like he has a daughter just like I do.
Yes.
And Bishop, you have children. It'd be like, oh, I
Yes.
praise you. I thank you. I
Right.
glorify you. It's like, okay, okay, thank you. Okay, you can stop now. I don't want that attention from my daughter. I
Oh,
do stuff for her out of love. I don't, that's a very
absolutely.
strong
Because
narcissistic
they're my
trait.
children.
Exactly.
I take care of them because they're my children. They are my responsibility. They are, like the Bible says about the wife, but they are bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. They
Exactly.
are me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're me. I created them. And I don't, back to what you were saying, I don't desire anything from my creation. No,
Yeah.
I'm here to meet their needs, not here for them to meet my needs,
Mm-hmm.
for them to praise me as if my ego needs their praise. Now, does that feel good? Of course it does. I
Mm-hmm.
love when they say, I love you, daddy. That
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel real good, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to have that. And I remember in Christianity, we used to do this when praises go up, blessings come down.
Yeah.
There's a principle there
Mm-hmm.
about gratitude, indeed. But I don't wait on my children to do like you just said. Hey, daddy, thank you, daddy, thank you, daddy,
Yeah.
before I decide to buy them clothes to put on.
Yeah.
No, I get them clothes because they need clothes, and it's my responsibility. But anyway, but if there is a Jesus, if there is a God, it doesn't need praise. Okay, so I don't worship anything. I give respect to beliefs, because that's what a person chooses to believe. Now, where am I on God and Jesus overall? Okay, I do believe, and again, this is my BS.
Yeah.
My belief system. It's my BS. It's my belief system. I believe that more than likely there is a creator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's almost like kind of like science. Well, I haven't done a study, so I can't say science, but all roads kind of lead to that. There's something that calls origin.
Something bigger than us.
Yeah, and maybe not even bigger than us in my perspective.
Yeah.
But there's an origin.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a first, and we can say that's bigger than us. Whether the first was an amoeba, okay, whatever it was, but there's a first. And Jesus, about the Jesus character, I love Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jesus, but I love what I read about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I love the character, but I love the character in the way that I love Batman.
Mm-hmm.
That might make someone's false teeth fall out, but I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
I love Jesus as a character that I read about in a story because it's quite obvious. It's quite obvious to the conscious observer,
Mm-hmm.
to the person that can comprehend, the English language and read with an open mind and read comprehensively, that the stories of Jesus in the Bible cannot all be true.
Mm-hmm.
And I use my words carefully. They cannot all be true because they contradict each other.
Oh, see, that's gonna be a problem for some people that's watching, hearing you say that. Because a lot of people, a lot of people are going to say, "Well, the Bible has no contradictions." So, what's your response to somebody that's like, "The Bible doesn't contradict it"? Somebody who may have an opposing view to you to that? What would you say to?
Easy answer. My response is, you have not read the Bible. Because there's no way. I'll give you some examples without going into detail. I want you to do some homework because that's what Christians don't do. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to give it all to you. I could, but go do some homework because Christians, pardon me, that was a generalization, and I don't like how that sounded because I have nothing against Christians. I'm not one of them. Mm-hmm. But this is not overall. All Christians are not like this. Yeah. But in general, Christians are not taught to really study. They read a book that says study to show yourself approved, but they don't study.
They don't think either.
They don't think. But you haven't read the Bible is what I'll say, because you can't have Jesus being in this place. I'm just going to give you an example, being in this place on this day at this time. And then also in another book, being at this place on the same day at the same time. Okay. I know we say he's omnipresent everywhere at the same time, but that's impossible. He was a man.
Yeah, he was a human being. Yeah.
So that's impossible. You've got one story where Jesus is on the earth for, I want to say after resurrection. Don't quote me on this. I want to say it was a few days. Let's put it that way. I can't remember exactly. One story, he was with his disciples for a few days, and then he ascended, and in a different city. Mm-hmm. Another story, he was with the disciples for 40 days and ascended from a totally different city. Mm-hmm. Only one can be right or both wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the Bible does contradict itself. Deal with it. Okay, face it. Deal with it. It's just the case. Now, was Jesus a real person? Here's the thing. Like I said, I love Jesus, but I love him as a character in a book. Yeah. Okay. That makes some pretty cool statements, has a pretty great display of love, And did he exist? I don't know. But I will tell you this, there is absolutely no archaeological evidence that he did exist, not the
Hmm.
Jesus of the Bible.
Wow, that's powerful. So what's your response to people? Because I'm not against this. I feel like this is where I'm at. I feel like I have a relationship with the creator source. I even heard you say you don't have a problem using the word God. But
I don't.
some people say you cannot maintain, and I don't mean religiously, you can't maintain a relationship with whatever that is and walk away from Christianity too. You need them both intertwined with each other in order to have a healthy relationship with whatever that is. Now you did walk away from it. So what's your thoughts on that? To those who may still serve God, live for God, is it possible to walk away from the system and still maintain a relationship with whatever that is that we
Abs-
hold true?
Absolutely. And see, I'm serving Jesus right now. Look,
Oh Lord, yeah, he's about to ruin my reputation.
this is some water that Jesus made.
No, it was grape juice. Read the Bible.
So he turned this was water when the show started. He turned it into wine.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, absolutely. I have whatever you want to call it. Okay. I definitely have a relationship with whatever you want to call it. You want to call it God, you want
Hmm.
to call it source. I sometimes will use the term God because that's just a term I'm familiar with. A lot of times I'll even say a relationship with myself or consciousness.
Hmm.
I kind of prefer that term more. This infinite consciousness, this universal consciousness that many people call God, and I'm telling you, I am, as crazy as this may sound, I am closer, Brother Henry. I am closer to what people view as God than I ever was.
Mm.
My relationship is more deeper, is deepened more with this universal consciousness that people call God. I am more intuitive, and some people call it prophetic, than I've ever been. I can sometimes see through muddy waters, and I'm not
Hmm.
bragging when I say that. You know, I have a friend that's still in church who I don't judge, but I'll call her and tell her, hey, this is what I saw. I saw this. I saw this lady. She looked like this. She said this. This is happening, and she'll tell me, whoa, that's exactly what just happened. You know, that's because I have a connection
Hmm.
with that infinite consciousness that people call God. But the thing is, it's not in a book
Hmm.
and it's not in the sky. It's in all things, all people. It is everywhere. It is omnipresent. It is everywhere at the same time because it's everything. It's in all people, all things, and it connects us all together.
Wow. I think that's amazing. So you talking about BS belief systems. What were some of the religious rhetoric, dogma, theology that you would consider harmful? What is it exactly that you walked away from? We know it was Christianity as a whole. When did you started questioning this stuff?
Oh man. Well, I mean, that was a lot of questions that I don't know if I can sum it up in one, but I'll start with I'll start with the first part. What is it that I walked away from? What was the harmful thing? Honestly, and this is not attacking my Christian brothers and sisters, but I am. Now I say this all the time. People say I'm not judging. Oh, I do judge. Okay, I
Yeah.
judge. But I'm not judging people. I'm
Yeah.
not judging Christians.
Yeah.
I am judging a broken system.
Exactly.
And the only person I'm judging is a former version of myself.
Hmm.
I will judge your belief.
Hmm.
I'll respect it, but I'm going to judge it.
Yeah.
I'm going to criticize it because why? Because it's harmful.
Exactly.
And And Henry, it's harmful at its root, because the root of religion, of Christianity, is this: you come to earth as a sinner. You arrive here evil, a mess. Oh, those poor evil babies, those little,
Yeah.
little evil babies just born every day. They're just evil, full of the devil.
Yeah.
So that is, it's the fundamental, foundational issue of Christianity, and that is that you are born a sinner and that you need to be saved. That is the problem. That is what I walked away from. I walked away from making me feel like there's something wrong with me, making me feel like there's always been something wrong with me. I was born with something wrong with me. So it's like, I think I heard you say this one time, I think, it's like you give me a sickness, I'm born, and you give me, a baby doesn't know something wrong with it, because it's not. But I'm born, and then you give me a sickness just so you can give me the medicine to cure my sickness.
Yeah. It's almost like God and Jesus are warring against each other.
Oh boy.
Because some people believe, since we're on this subject of religious teachings, dogma, some people believe that God will put sickness on you, but there goes Jesus there to heal you from it. So you talk about contradictions.
well, brother, you're exactly right. And that's the biggest. Here's the thing. Jesus, this is why it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. So Jesus is saying, according to the common belief, Jesus is saying, hey, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Won't you please let me in so I can save you from what I'm going to do to you if you don't let me in? Doesn't make sense. What? God, here's the thing, Brother Henry. This concept is dumb.
It really is.
On that. I think I've been drinking too much. The concept is dumb. Okay? God would not need to save me from a hell if he didn't create one.
Come
on. If you didn't want me to go to hell, then why the hell did you create it?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. You put the poisonous tree in the center of the Bible says in the middle of the garden. If you know the tree is poisoned, if you know the tree is going to kill me, why didn't you take it and put it like at the top of some mountain where I can't reach it? But you're going to put it in the middle of the garden and make it attractive?
Exactly.
Make it make sense.
Somebody said that today, not that there, but they said, well, God created good and evil. I said, that's almost like setting a trap for your own children.
Brother Henry, that's exactly what it's like.
I mean, think about evil, man. That's beyond like, indescribable. I can't imagine putting my daughter in a situation like I actually created evil for her just to see how she's going to respond to it.
Can I ask you this, Henry? And let me ask you about your daughter too. Would you, knowing, I can't, let's not use that example. Well, okay, I'll say it like this. You know that a dog, if you buy this particular dog, okay, I can use this because it's not going to happen. If you buy this particular dog, it's just this particular dog. If you buy it, you already know it's guaranteed. There's no questions. It is guaranteed this dog is going to bite your daughter if you buy it and give it to her. Would you buy it and give it to her?
Nope. That's me as a human being. I wouldn't do it.
Because you already know that it's going to bite it. You've seen it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Where am I going? Remember, God is omniscient.
Yeah.
God is all-knowing. Remember? So that means God already knew before he created Adam and Eve. God already knew before he put the tree in the garden. God already knew that they were going to eat from the tree. God already knew if they were going to die. God already knew that they were going to be destined for hell. If you knew it's going to happen, why did you set it up to happen?
But the problem also is, why did he stop it? what I mean, I don't know.
Because he already knew that it was going to happen, so he had to see it through.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't make sense, but for some reason, my church brain thought it made sense. But Henry, this is the thing. And this is one of the things that led me away from religion and from Christianity. Those stories do sound ridiculous. Why do they sound ridiculous? Because they are ridiculous.
Mhm.
And I believe they were intended to be ridiculous. I don't think they were ever intended to be taken literally. There's this Jewish rabbi, okay? And I know time is rolling here.
Yeah.
I wish I could find this. It's been years ago that I heard him say this. It was some video, but there was this Jewish rabbi that began to criticize Christians and say, you guys took our story because you know the Old Testament is a Hebrew story.
Mm-hmm.
Garden story is a Hebrew story. The rabbi says, you guys took our story that we already knew was allegorical, and you made it a literal story.
Yeah.
Now, this is the Jewish people that own the story. He's saying, we already knew the story was not a real story. It was an allegory, but y'all took our story and made it literal.
Oh my God.
So my point is, the reason it sounds ridiculous because it's supposed to sound ridiculous. That's how stories are. Stories are exaggerated for a purpose. When you watch movies, aren't they very exaggerated? Why?
Mhm.
Because they want to grab your attention to make points. That is the point of those stories. They're supposed to be silly. They're supposed to be ridiculous because they want to be exaggerated enough to grab your attention. But if you look closely, there's a lesson in the exaggeration.
Ooh, boy, that's good. We got about 8 minutes before this shuts off. Did you receive any type of retaliation from the church for walking away? Did pastors stop talking to you? Can you briefly tell us about that?
Let me tell you the truth, brother. I don't even want to relive those days. In the early, it's been almost 4 years for me now. In the early year or two, I received a lot of retaliation. First of all, remember my church. At one point, I had about 200 people. Probably, I'd already begun to lose people when I was started teaching grace and love. So, my people, the Pentecostal holiness people, they wanted judgment, hellfire, and brimstone, But so they started leaving when I was teaching love, still as a Christian. But I had gotten down to about 70 people, okay, from 200 to about 70. When I came out publicly with the fact that I no longer believe that the Bible is the word of God, stuff like that, I lost most of the 70. So they retaliated by a lot of them just by walking away from me. And that was the people that loved me, that put me on a pedestal, that said, you're my bishop, you're my spiritual father, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. Those same people. And when they left, Henry, they crucified my name. They went out and they talked about me. They said Broadnax called me all kinds of names. He's a backslider, which I don't care. I slid back, okay? Happy about the field slide. Okay, I got on ice skates and I'm going backwards as far as I can. But it did make me feel bad. I felt betrayed. Family members that I used to talk to every day, this 4 years later, I probably have talked to them. I can count on one hand the number of times I talked to those same family members. I've had people come on public posts. You're getting there, Henry. You're pretty close to it. They come on my public posts and they call me a warlock and they call me the devil. And
are you okay?
I mean, I've gotten those and I didn't mind those, but I mean, I've gotten the threats like your soul's going to burn in hell, stuff like that. Oh, such a loving Christian they are.
Yeah.
There's no hate like Christian love, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and I went through that as well. And it's not a pleasant experience. In one word, can you, when Christians respond to you, Bishop, with hatred and bias and all this stuff, where do you think that's rooted from? If you could describe that in just one word.
Okay, I thought when you said one word, I thought you was going to say, what's the one word I tell them? Let's take a drink on that one.
because some
You
of
might
them
get censored if I tell you that one word that I tell them.
some of them may be very harsh. So, what is that a result of? We got about 5 minutes. What is that a result of? People who do that.
Very, very simple, Henry. Because what you give to others is a reflection of what's inside of you. Okay. So what's really going on, you're judging others because you're judging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You think other people are wrong because you're actually insecure concerning your own beliefs.
Wow.
You know that something doesn't make sense. So you got to fight. You got to defend. I mean, an all-powerful God doesn't need your defending. I'm pretty certain of that. But people do that actually, Henry, out of insecurity. They are really not very secure in their faith. Okay. Because when you're confident, you know this, most of you out there watching know, when you're confident, you don't have to be boisterous.
Yeah.
Loud. When you know that you could just sit back and look and just laugh, smile. So if you know I'm wrong and you're right, then shut up.
Yeah. And a lot of the things too, as we go to a close, don't bother you anymore.
It does not.
Like you said something the other day about people saying Jesus or God. It's like those things used to be triggers for you. Now it's like, okay, let people say Jesus. I mean, say devil. What? I mean,
that's the other extreme.
Yeah.
That's the other. So I'm glad you said it. I know we only have like 4 minutes, but that's the thing. And you're right. When I first began to deconstruct from my faith, those things did trigger me. But there's a reason why they triggered me, because we're growing. When you're a baby, you act like a baby, okay? But when I became a man, I put away childish things, right? So it triggered me because I had just deconstructed from Christianity, and I was upset and I was angry because I felt like I'd wasted so much of my life. I felt like I'd been lied to, I'd been deceived, and that was my initial reaction.
Yeah.
But once I grew and once I evolved, there was no need for that, because I'm now confident in what I know, and I look at others and I know that, hey, they've got a journey too. Okay, so let them grow. Let them go. Let them get there. So yeah, I don't have a problem with Jesus. Jesus ain't never done nothing to me.
Yeah.
Ever.
Man.
And if he's not, and I say this to atheists out there, that the ones that are triggered, I got great friends that are atheists, that are not triggered like that. But I say that to those, not just atheists, to people that are triggered by the mention of Jesus. If you don't think he's real, what you triggered for? Why are you triggered by an imaginary person?
Yeah.
Heal.
Yeah, wow. Man, this is so powerful. As you said in the beginning of the show, this is something that we can do part 3, 4, 5. And that may happen depending on the responses. But a lot of people are looking forward to it. So just don't be surprised if this conversation carries on. I kind of feel like
questions too, if you want to.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it will. I appreciate you, your friendship, your authenticity. Thank you for being you. It took us, we couldn't do that when we was a part of Christianity. But now it's like a bird being in a cage, just flying out now. So I think it's amazing. You can connect with Bishop Broadnax on Facebook. He also has a YouTube channel called The Unbelieving Bishop.
Yes.
And
go like and subscribe. Listen, I need some subscribers.
Yeah, go like and subscribe that page. He shares his journeys, his stories. It's a brand new podcast that he does. I appreciate everyone for watching. Many of you have been waiting for this interview this time. And I'm sure Bishop Broadnax appreciates it as well. Hopefully someone will get some answers that you've been looking for. And before I say good night, there's a lot of people that cannot vocally come out and say they're taking a risk. You've taken that risk, so you are an inspiration to so many people. Well, Perry, you are awesome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, and I appreciate what you're doing too, buddy.
Well, thank you. Because if you allow the world to define you, if you allow friends to define you, if you allow your spouse to define you or anybody to define you outside of how God sees you, that does open the door to rejection. God bless you. I hope y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you, Brother Henry.
Thank you.
God bless you too. Thank you for having me.